Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. I'm your host, Xali, and today we are late. I'm late for 6 minutes. So let's begin. And today I'm planning to talk about JavaScript. I'm going to give you a comprehensive introduction to JavaScript. And depending on who is here, and we might switch topics. If you are here and you are asking a question, whoever is here first. So so let's okay. Today is 21st, I think. Xa Talk Show 21st, and let's go to Xa Talk Show in browser, and we're gonna talk about JavaScript. Xa Talk Show 21st. That's right, and we're gonna talk about JavaScript. Okay. JavaScript. Okay, I'm going to give you a comprehensive introduction to JavaScript. Okay, you go to my JavaScript tutorial. This is JavaScript in depth. Okay, you just go to web and search for JavaScript in depth. JS in depth, and you'll find my website. Let me get my apple juice and energy drink ready. So this is my website, JavaScript in depth, and I spent 2 years writing it, and it's very good. It's the best out there, online or printed. You won't find any other that's better. There are actually two resources that I would consider as good. But if you search for Xali JavaScript book review, you'll find my review of all the JavaScript resources in English. Doesn't matter it's printed or online. I give you a review of them all. So, but anyway, try my JavaScript in depth, and also buy it. Okay, so you can buy it here. It's 29 bucks. Okay, JavaScript in depth. Buy it, and you what you get is the entire JavaScript website in HTML, and you can read. Mostly it's a commitment. Once you decided, JavaScript is the most popular language used today, um, one of the top five, let's say, and so it's a commitment. If you decide to learn JavaScript, then you buy my tutorial, and you can. My tutorial is also reference. Let's see. It's also you can. It's also a reference. So you have JavaScript in-depth coverage and miscellaneous and JavaScript object references. So you find uh, you know all built-in functions. You can use it as a reference. So I think I'm going to give you an introduction to JavaScript. And if you are here, say hi. Good morning, Green Deck. So Green Deck and any others. Okay, if you have a question, ask early. Okay, because I think okay we're gonna let's talk about JavaScript in depth. I think I'm gonna talk about for 30 minutes. Hold on a second. 我现在有事。Yeah, sorry about that. JavaScript in depth. Now, first of all, you when you learn JavaScript, you want to know the basic syntax and stuff. So that's the JavaScript basics. And as for JavaScript basics, you can there are a lot of websites that teaches you the basic of JavaScript. There's 3W3, W3C. There's a Mozilla. You know, Mozilla, and there's also Microsoft. But actually, you need to be careful when you read JavaScript tutorials, because JavaScript is a very complicated language. Okay, there's lots of words and potholes, so you don't want to get into the wrong direction. Many JavaScript tutorials online are misleading to say the least. Okay, especially true. This is especially true for Mozilla JavaScript tutorial. Like, it's very extremely misleading. Okay, let's see. JavaScript tutorial. So JavaScript tutorial W3C W3 school is the worst. You don't want to read that. And whoops, the modern JavaScript tutorial. I don't know which one is that. So W3C's tutorial is very bad, misleading and all, and errors. Totally just incorrect. Even though it's easy to read, but if you want to easy to read, you can just read my tutorial. It's easy to read. So tutorial point is another lame popular JavaScript tutorial. Then you have Mozilla's. There's Academy, and there's a whole bunch of others. This one is Mozilla's. Most of them are there because they want to make money. That's it. They don't care about anything else. They just want to become the most popular so that they run ads so they make money. For those who don't know any programming, those people who never, not technical people, but they thought, they heard that, oh, programming makes money, so they want to learn JavaScript. The content is garbage. And you see, we have this JavaScript info. You see, this is idiotic. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen this one. This one must be new. This JavaScript.info. But apparently, of course, this one is here just to make money. Let's see. CSS animations. I feel part 3, part 2, Java's promise. Okay, anyway. So I don't know about this one. I don't know. I haven't seen this one before. This must be new, I think. Uh, okay, anyway. So, and Mozilla's JavaScript, they have like it's also no good. Code Academy. Code Academy, as far as I know, they are a commercial website. I mean, they are like a professionally run commercial website. Mostly, they have videos. If I recall correctly, Code Academy. Yeah, let's take a look. Join. You see, they want your money. 30 time to complete 30 hours. Join numbers. Why learn JavaScript? Take away skills. Up next, build games. Nah, build web application with learn JavaScript. Well, yeah, I don't have much. I don't really have opinions on Code Academy, but yeah, but as far as I know, these kind of joints, they I guess if you are learning from, first of all, I don't know the quality. Okay, I suppose it's okay because I've heard Code Academy, and they are very hyper commercialized. Uh, you know, uh, company. They are like companies. I know from first-hand experience that you can go in knowing zero, nothing, and just get a grasp on everything as you go. Is that nah? But let's see who is. Yeah, I wouldn't. So I do not know if Code Academy's JavaScript tutorial is misleading or not. Because many of these are misleading. So, but I do not know that for the Code Academy. However, from what I see here, you can see it's written to attract those people who never have any concept of programming. I mean that the it's designed to attract people who don't know coding at all. For example, you can see their quotes, from this girl, from from first-hand experience, that you can go in knowing zero, nothing, and just get a grasp on everything as you go and start building right away. Yeah, those are crap. They want to cash in on people who don't know nothing, and attract them so that they can think, oh, they can start to build applications now. Like learning the first language and building applications right away. So they do not teach anything in depth. What happens is that when you are suppose if you are new, even if you or if you have some experience in programming, you try to learn these kind of tutorials, which are designed catered to the population, trying to make money fast. It's kind of like make money fast scheme. So you read their tutorial, okay, even if you are experienced programmer, but you don't know JavaScript. So you learn from Code Academy or the others, to learn the JavaScript language. What do you get? Okay, what is the result? The result, even if their tutorial is not misleading, but the result after reading their tutorial for, let's say, 3 months, okay, doing all the homework and stuff, what you have is basically, um, it's a skill that gets you nowhere. Like, you cannot really build applications. Are you kidding me? Those professional, Google or whatever, writing applications, that takes years of experience. So if you have this something, here, you learn for a month and you can build applications. That application is more or less like hello world. Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend it at all, because most of you, whoever follow me, are you are programmers, or you want to learn stuff, seriously. Good morning, web dog. No, no, no. MDN is the worst. Okay, among JavaScript tutorials, MDN from the Mozilla is one of the worst JavaScript tutorial in existence. Okay, but however, the MDN Mozilla Web Reference for JavaScript is very good. It's very good to the point that sometimes it's the only information you can find. I'm talking about the JavaScript reference. I mean, some esoteric things you can find some of that in, especially like new things like JavaScript. Every year they have new things. So for those kind of things, you already have 5 years of experience in JavaScript. Then MDN is useful. It's useful mostly for the new stuff. Like every year they have new stuff. You will not find that information in any books, because books, they were already printed. So in that respect, and basically only that respect, the MDN reference for JavaScript, the reference part is good. Okay, the tutorial is one of the worst. Because it's misleading and it's error prone. Now, when you read a tutorial, especially on some subjects, okay, such as certain math topics or certain uh, complicated programming language, okay, on certain topics, you want to begin with a tutorial that's good, that's not misleading. That when you read it, the writing style gives you a pattern of thought, in the right direction. you know you, you don't want to read another, you want to get a, yeah, so make the good tutorial makes a difference for certain subjects. On the other hand, suppose if you have lots of time, you don't care, you just read a lot, then everything works. You can read any tutorial, just keep reading, just like reading a novel. But the thing is, you don't have all the time in the world, right? Usually you want to spend, you know you want to be efficient, spend X amount of time and you learn good information. So now ECMAScript standard is also the worst. It's impossible to read, even if you have 10 years, 20 years of programming. Uh, okay, so I guess, from the questions I see, most people don't know. No, what the yeah. So there's a lot misinformation out there. That's true. Yeah, a lot of these tutorials also teach you a framework. Like since 10 years ago, all the tutorials becomes like that. Like you don't really actually learn anything about JavaScript. Rather, you just learn, copy paste this code, npm something something, and you and just run it, and you do follow the next step. It's like step by step instruction. You don't really get anything out of it. So anyway, on the other hand, uh, if you learn my tutorial, you learn the core JavaScript, the language as defined by the JavaScript specification. I've read several versions of them. They are the worst spec among languages. So anyway, so check out my tutorial, buy it. Okay, so JavaScript basics. JavaScript basics. So here is, you can follow these basics. Assignments, arithmetic operators, how to run JavaScript, and so on. Okay, so I'm not sure where I'm going now. Should I continue? Should I continue to give you an introduction to JavaScript or something else? So Norman says some tutorial. Yeah. So let's see how long I've been talking. So I already spent 17 minutes talking. Okay, so let's just go ahead and give a brief um, introduction to JavaScript. So JavaScript basics. You run that in browser. You can run in browser, in any browser. Usually you have these inspect elements. Let's see where, or tools, web tools. So you go to web tools and developer tools. On the Mac is it's Command Option I. Okay, and you got these consoles and lots of other things. For example, elements, consoles. The browsers has become a JavaScript IDE. And sources, it's actually, JavaScript and web applications are extremely complicated, and the browser is a JavaScript web dev, application IDE. You can think of it as that. In fact, it's actually, I would say, it's actually even more advanced. As an IDE, it's more advanced than most other IDEs, because JavaScript, the web applications, you have resources, you have HTTPS, you need to find, the memory usage and all, very complicated. And JavaScript often is also compiled from other languages such as TypeScript. So when you actually do web dev, you have all these things you need, debugging and so on. So anyway, in the browser, you can go to this panel by just right click, like go to any page and right click, and you'll see a inspect elements here, inspect. Okay, in Safari, in any browser, you'll see this. Then you click on console. Console is where you type your JavaScript code. You can, uh, for example, 1 plus 2, and you get 3, and you can say let x equals to array. Okay, so 3, 4, 5. So that's an array. So array, you get an array. So let me oh, actually, you guys cannot see it. Sorry about that. Okay, this is going bad. Okay, so yeah, so you right click and you go to inspect and you can see the web console and click on the console. Then you get a JavaScript console and you can type 3 plus 2, you get 5. You can let x equals to array 4 2 2 5 9. So that's an array. Yeah, x has already been defined. So let's say y. Okay, so y is an array now. Uh, so this is how you evaluate JavaScript code. You can start with that, and okay, so this is kind of tight. Another way is that you download, you go to notjs.com. You go to notjs and you download it. Then you can run the notjs in command in shell. For example, let's run not. So 3 plus 5, 3 plus 4 is 7, and let x equals to 3 4 2. So that's an array, and x is an array, and array is array. You can try that. So this is another way to run JavaScript. You download Node, which is uh, either way, it's I would recommend you download Node. Browser is very convenient, but as a programmer, usually you work in an editor. Either way is actually fine. But however, with Node, you can actually run as a script. For example, kill it, open a new file. Let's say 3 plus 4. Let's say console log. Okay, so save the file as xx.js. Okay, then let's say console log 3 plus 4 and run it. You see, console. So this is a file xx.js. That's a file. Then we go to shell. Then you can say not xx.js, and that runs the program, and the output is 7. You see, so this is convenient if you are if you want to use a text editor to run JavaScript code. But however, there's some differences between Node and web browser because because JavaScript is so-called a hosted language. That means in practice, that means the global object in Node.js is global, and while in browser is Windows. For example, let's see. So we are back in browser. You can type window. Okay, window is actually a object. It's a global object. You can see window is actually an object with huge number of properties, like over 1,000 number of properties. So that's how you see it. But in Node.js, you don't have the Windows object. For example, let's see, console log window, run it. You see, it says reference error. Window is not defined, but however, it has a global object. You can run it, and you can see the output. It tries to print the global. There's an object name called global, and it tries to print all its properties and stuff. So that's not JS. You can run it in an editor if you are or you can run JavaScript code in browser. Now, mostly I'm going to run it in Emacs, which is in a editor. So JavaScript basics. So you want to learn the basic. Now you can actually just read the basics on this page because it shows you how to print the basic format for string. String length, substring, join string, string methods, and arithmetics like plus, minus, multiply, division, and assignments. The basic syntax. Then you have variables. The basic syntax for variables. Let x equals to 3 and so on. Then you have data types. Yeah, actually, I'm a bit lost. So I am. Am I doing good? We're gonna do a JavaScript. Should I continue? So JavaScript basics. Yeah. So then you have if then else statements. So Green Deck says, what do you think about people who use Emacs as OS, like for browser, email, Act? Do you use for something other than text editing? Okay. So maybe we should maybe we stop talking about JavaScript then. Um, okay, Emacs as an OS. I actually don't do that these days. Back in year 2000, I used Emacs for email, for browser as well. Occasionally. In general, I don't do any of that today. I use Emacs purely only for tasks that's text editing, for text files only. I do not use Emacs to play music. I do not use Emacs to browse the web. Not for email, not for anything, not for anything that's not text editing. Okay, because it's almost always that the dedicated application is much better. For example, the greatest example is browsers in Emacs. You cannot. It sucks so badly that there's no comparison at all. For example, let's just show you an example. Go to W3 uh, uh, U. Okay, EWW is a browser in Emacs. So I'm calling U right now, and let's go to xali.info. Okay, and you can see this is how it shows in Emacs. Okay, it takes a long time. Then some images shows up, so it looks like this. Okay, it looks pretty bad. You know why? Because first of all, Emacs does not support SVG images, uh, and then it does not support CSS. Uh, CSS for changing the width. What's going on? And now this page is completely blank, and it's like 5 times slower. Like in a real browser, if you go to xali.info, so you see this. That's how it should look. Then you have all these programming tutorials, all these SVG images and stuff. But in Emacs, just doesn't work. So that's a major. It's like there's no comparison. Emacs browser is just for it's just for fun. It's just for certain websites that's text only. It's useful in that way. Okay, such as for example as an English dictionary, dictionary website. Even that, it's very slow and but the convenience is that you can, everything is in Emacs. You can operate, copy, paste text, and so on. So that's an example of browser, and also using email in Emacs is a perpetual pain, like because email technology they changes every year. Back in 2000s. So around 2000, 1999 to 2001. Okay, I have used all there it is, Emacs email clients. All I've used them all for like a year or two, and I have also used several, basically all Unix email clients in terminal. It's hard even to remember the names. But for example, in Emacs you have Mail. Mail is the most it's the earliest. Okay, there's a command called mail. Okay, that's sending an email, but rmail. Okay, the command name is rmail. Command name is rmail. Okay, I don't have I it shows nothing because I'm not connected to a email account. But anyway, so Emacs in Emacs you have rmail. You have one thing called VC. I think VC is from originally from Xemacs. Then you have then you have several. I've tried like three or four of them. I use each one of them for I used a lot. I tried them all, and also several uh, email programs that runs in terminal, including Mud, for example. Mud is one of the later ones. But anyway, the email running emails in terminal or in Emacs is always a problem. It's like perpetual problem. Because email technology they changes every year. For example, today the most popular is Google, right? So if you want to set up email to connect to Google from Emacs, it's a lot of pain. You have to spend hours, doing it. Then it doesn't support a lot of features in email. For example, back then, the new feature in email, back in 1990s, 1990s, email is basically just plain text. Then we started to have attachments and we started to have HTML email, with formatting bold and italics and color and stuff. And then also we begin to have image files like embedded images or attachments. Uh, so when that began as new, you don't have that in Emacs. So people, everyone is using it because these features are essential, but you don't have to in Emacs. Well, you could have because then you spend 10 hours every day to try to get it to work. Same thing with HTML and so on. Okay, but that's back in 2000. Then, there's new features added in email. Then there's basically they add things. I think that once we have attachments, that should be it. Then we are good to go. We can use Linux or whatever. No, it turns out it's not true. Those applications changes every 3 years, I would say. So every 3 years, Linux or Emacs all lags behind. So basically, it's like permanent lagging behind what everyone, normal people is using, lagging behind in features for 5 years permanently. Over the years, then you have Unicode, then you have lots of things. So Emacs doesn't support. So and you really have to spend huge amount of time to get it to work. Um, but the thing is, if all your contacts are nerds, then that seems to be fine because all we do is send text mails. I mean, we are very careful about what we send, like we are, uh, you know, technicality conscious. We know the difference between GIF, between video formats and different video formats, different sound formats, different, or HTML file uh, versus enriched text versus plain text. We are conscious, about all these things. So we usually choose the most efficient. For example, we never embed an image file into a PDF. But a lot of people they send out PDF, but actually that's the whole PDF file is just an image file. It's kind of stupid, like a JPEG or PNG file in a PDF. So anyway, so if all your friends, contacts are nerds, then you can use Emacs, email in Emacs. That works fine. But however, almost the most important contact in your life are not nerds. Your boss, your HR department, your company, whatever payment department, banks, they are not they are not nerds. Okay, so they send you whatever is the current technology of email attachments or whatever or your friends, non-technical friends, your normal daily friends or your girlfriend or boyfriend. Okay, so they they send you all the stuff you cannot read, or you have trouble reading it, or you have to launch, PDF reader or whatever. You have to launch external files. So it's like extreme inconvenience. You have that extreme inconvenience, and and some of it you can try to fix. You spend hours try to get it to work. It's just not worth it. So I only used Emacs for purely text stuff today. For IRC, I might use, Emacs is, I haven't been using IRC for over 10 years. But if I'm going to use IRC, then I imagine possibly I could use email. But I mean, I could use IRC in Emacs, but likely not. Because about 15 years ago, I actually tried, I compared running IRC in Emacs, pure text, okay, versus on the Mac, there's a IRC client. One of the popular ones, I forgot which one, Adium, I think it's Adium. I compare them. Actually, the Adium, which is a graphical application, okay, running, for IRC, the Adium actually uses less memory, more features, and faster than the plain text version in Emacs. That is true. It's so sad, it's actually true, because, and it's logically true too, because Emac this language is very slow. So, these situations, it annoys me to no ends that we hear about from Emacs community, for example, Reddit Emacs, and all the nerds, they say, oh, Emacs is great, this or that. Oh, you should run emails in Emacs. That's all bullshit, all patently untrue crap. So that's, so it pains me every time I see those kind of things. Because the way it became, it's that way because it's a code. You cannot say anything, you cannot tell the truth. Like if someone on Reddit Emacs, they say, okay, oh, I love running emails in Emacs, for example. Then suppose I try to point out, oh, but you got these problems. Then you got an army of people shutting you down, like shouting you down. Oh, yeah, but Emacs can do this or that, but this, that. That's the situation, and you got voted down. So, it's like that. It's because it's a code, because there's a code situation going on, because everyone is like, you want to, this is the right thinking. You cannot think other than this way. Emacs is the best of everything in the world. That's the correct way. If you go outside of that, people don't like you. That's what happens. And in turn, that makes Emacs worse and worse. No progress. Because if you think about it, this is my big Emacs flame. Okay, Emacs is such a great editor. It is. It is. I mean, it is true. I still use Of course, I use Emacs. I'm a master of Emacs Lisp. I'm a master of Emacs. I have the most efficient system than any editor, because you can customize to the way you want. So it's great. But why is that nobody uses it? I mean, in reality, actually, very few people use it. Most people use, they even for text editors, they use Atom or Microsoft code and stuff. So what, it's a insult. It's almost like an insult. So you have like such a great editor, but nobody use it. Why is that? In the same way, it's true for Linux. You have a great operating system, Linux, and it's free. And Microsoft and Apple's, they cost $100, $200, and the other things. So why should it should everyone should be using Linux already. but that's not happening. Why is that? It's really truly because Linux and Emacs, in comparison, all things considered, truly sucks so badly. It's like the worst. They are the worst shit possible. Okay, they waste your time. They just no good. Okay, but it needs not to be that way. Actually, we nerds together, we can really make Emacs uh, better than anything, and it's still free and used by everyone. Okay, like among programmers, for example, among professional programmers today, how many percent people use Emacs? Like less than 0.001% using Emacs. No, that's an insult. That doesn't, so, to us, Emacs is such a great editor. Why does that happen? Then most Emacs people will say, in the Emacs community, will say, oh, because most people are stupid. Oh, because they don't appreciate, they don't understand. No, the real reason is because you fuckheads, you Emacs code fans, do not believe reality. You cook up these fancy things, your extremely idiotic key binding, unreadable documentation with 10,000 jargons. That is why. That is why nobody is switching to Emacs. But these things can be easily fixed, you know. But why can't I fix it? I mean, why can't we change it? Because it's a code, okay? But there are many of us are reasonable people. We can spread the information, so stop the code mentality, and maybe Emacs becomes widely popular. But that's not easy, because the reason is that because it's a political situation, it's a power struggle, which is why code remains a code most of the time, because there's a power play going on. They are controlled. For example, Emacs is controlled by Richard Stallman, and he's got, it's a political situation. There's a power going on. It's not just, oh, let's think rationally and fix whatever and remove the code situation. No, because it's a power. They have to remain in power, because once you, well, anyway, so that's my reason. So first of all, Emacs is, not that popular, because in reality, Emacs, all things considered, okay, important. This is important. All consider everything. Emacs is not a bit good because it's really just bad. It's a bad editor, okay, bad everything else, okay. All things considered, for all professional programmers, not just to you and me, a few handful elite nerds, who do nothing except staying at home and Emacs stuff. So the product is bad. So why is it remain bad for like so long? Why can't we change? Because it's a code. There's a code mentality. Same thing happens with Linux, Unix philosophy and all this crap. Okay, that's why. But why won't the code go away? Because there's a power involved. It's a political situation, and it's controlled by Richard Stallman and some of the Emacs dev and whoever, some of the Emacs devs. Because that is why, basically. Uh, yeah, take Ogmod is great. Yeah, Ogmod is great. Okay, I'm kind of lost. I was going to. This is Xa Talk Show. I was going to talk about JavaScript, comprehensive introduction, but I guess that's kind of went away. But the problem is that I don't have a fixed schedule. Like, it would be great if I say, okay, today, set out the plan for the next 10 days, and set out the time. So, at 1 o'clock p.m., we're going to talk about JavaScript, next day. And after tomorrow, we're going to talk about Emacs. And after that, we're going to talk about the code situation of programmers. You know, if I do that, I think it'll be better. But so that's the issue. So I wasn't sure about fixing a plan. So what else, guys? Anything else interesting? What comments or questions or no, or anything you disagree? Okay, feel free to say it. So yeah, we have the Emacs code situation. We have JavaScript. So yeah, so back to the question about using Emacs as a OS. I don't do it because it's not practical. But the other thing is, Emacs is so-called single-threaded. So if I run, I've done them on and off. Using Emacs to play music, using Emacs to do everything. I've been there. The problem is, usually when you use Emacs, the you are using it to program, right? Which is important. But if you run a bunch of other things, and the other things may crash Emacs, like when you start to run IRC or whatever image, music, or whatever, they may crash and they will bring down your whole Emacs. So that's a major problem. When your Emacs crash, you might be programming something in the middle of it. So that's also why I avoid using Emacs for anything else other than just text editing. Also, when you run a shell in Emacs, doesn't matter it's a E shell or Bash, so-called inferior shell in Emacs. Usually, if you know that you are going to run a long shell job, such as compiling something big, okay, you don't want to run it in Emacs as well because the thousands of lines they bog down Emacs. Also it's prone to crash Emacs. So once it crashes, then you lost all your the output in shell. So yeah, so for any serious shell task, I always go to the real terminal instead. Yeah, Joe Armstrong passed away. I mentioned about that yesterday. Yeah, Atom looks good. The thing about Atom, you see, the thing about Emacs is that I always thought that the core idea of Emacs is not very difficult to replicate. I mean, the essential idea in Emacs is that you have this. Basically, you have a Lisp interpreter. Okay, that's the core of everything. So it's a Lisp machine. It's a Lisp machine or Lisp environment. But basically, the essence, the bottom line, the heart is a Lisp interpreter. That is the whole engine, and that's dynamic. So you have this. So the idea of having this, Lisp, a language interpreter that builds everything. I think that's the essence of Emacs. Okay, and I thought that's not difficult to replicate today, in either in a Lisp language or in another language. It may maybe in Racket, Scheme Lisp, or maybe in Ruby, Python, even Python or JavaScript. I think we can do that. Not too difficult. We just need some ultra programmer. I'm not capable of that. Okay, but I know that there are quite a lot of people who are capable of that. Uh, I know a few, for example, in Emacs community. The one guy named Daniel, who wrote an essay about Butterfly, about Emacs windowing system. But anyway, so there are few people who are capable of doing that. Typically those are people who know C well, like they know low level programming well. But anyway, so I thought it's actually easy to replicate the Emacs, the essence of Emacs system. And I thought that Atom was one of them, but I haven't really looked into Atom, but it seems actually not, because I know other programmers, Emacs users, for example, David Capello. I think he looked into Atom and he says that basically, nah, it's not like it does not have the essential, like the essence of Emacs. It's not like Emacs, okay? Even though, I mean, it's written in JavaScript, and JavaScript is the scripting language. So in a sense, you have the Atom editor has embedded language, JavaScript, and it's also written in JavaScript. But however, it does not have, as far as I know, it does not have the nature of Emacs, where you can just, in real time dynamically change your things by using JavaScript. Yeah, so that's for some reason that's the case. I haven't looked into, but I always wanted to, but I just don't, didn't get the time to do that. But from what I hear from other people, it doesn't seem to capture the essence of Emacs. Do you know what color scheme is best for eyes? Like white text on black background and vice versa, or maybe gray or something. I think the best is actually green on black, or cyan on black, or orange on black. Basically, you want a black background. That is the best if you are using some kind of illuminous technology, like your screen shines, light. Then you want a black background. Okay, I think that's actually the best for the eye. Um, but however, it's not practical because every website they have white background. So it's not good if I don't think it's good you constantly switch from a black background and then to a white background. That's just a fact. That's just how things are because most websites are using white background. Uh, so that is why I don't use black background much in Emacs. I only have it in terminal. But other than that, my background is kind of it's called Honey Drew. Let's see, keyboard EL. Okay, let's go to my Emacs settings. Oops, not this page. Okay, so here is my Emacs settings, and if we go to, it's on GitHub as well. If we go to basics, okay, where is basics? Settings. Okay, this file. Wait, let me delete the backup file. So this file, Emacs settings. So that is my background color Honey Drew, and everything else is default. I don't use special colors because I prefer simplicity. I don't want no frills, no nothing. Any frills I don't like. Okay, any kind of fancy looks or anything. I want the most raw, basic, and functional. Note, it's important. I want to be functional, not just raw or basic. I want it to be the most functional possible, not as opposed to the most raw or the most primitive or the most Unix philosophy my ass kind of thing. I know a lot of Emacs people. They are interesting. For example, they want to turn off the scroll bar. You see the scroll bar on the right? they want to turn that off. They they want to turn off, and they want to turn off menu and all that. No, that's no good. Okay, because the scroll bar is actually the most efficient visual feedback for where your cursor is relative to the whole file. Scroll bar, okay, not the, the 10%, the bottom 10% at the uh, so-called mod line. This line in Emacs is called mod line. Okay, uh, you know, you see that 22%. That's actually your cursor position. Let's see. So you can see that so that means I'm at 37% of the page. That's good if you are in terminal. But anyway, the scroll bar is the most effective visual feedback for where your cursor are. Uh, but you can see Xali Emacs background. So all my settings and tricks are on my website. So let's see. uh, Emacs. Let's just go to Emacs. Then you can find uh, what is this page? Practical Emacs tutorial. Let's search for color. It's not there. Oh, it's in its setup. So here you can see this page, set color theme. So that's a tutorial about color themes. And I also show you how to set up your background color without using color themes. I don't like, I don't use color themes at all. And it's kind of funny. It's also, color. This page is actually the most one of the most popular page in my Emacs tutorial. And also on Reddit, every day, color theme is one of the most frequent topics. Like everyone wants to know, about color theme. Oh, what color theme you use? What, yeah, they like to talk about that. I think it's like it's like a bike shade situation, where the most brainless things, everyone wants to talk about, because it's color. You can see it, color, how to adjust your color, so everyone can see it, everyone can understand it, everyone can play with it. And it seems like you are doing something, with your Emacs settings. So every month, on Reddit, it'll be a discussion about color themes. Yeah, I don't use it at all. I only set the background to honey drew color, so as to not make it white. Because it's pure white, I think it's less. Uh, Pure white is less easy on your eyes. Oh, the syntax coloring. Did he? So Norman says Rob Pike is infamous for saying syntax coloring is childish. Did he actually say that? Do you have a reference? I would like to see that. In the early days, like in 1900, in 1990s, there are some programmers who do not like syntax coloring, and one of them is Eric Nagum, who is known, who is well known as the most uh, famous troll among Lisp communities. So Eric Nagum, he died in 2009. Oh wow, it's 10 years now. So he's a famous Common Lisp programmer, and he has written an essay about. I think it's him. Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. He does not use syntax coloring. He don't. He do not think it's good. So back in 1990s, there are quite a number of programmers who say that, but I don't think that's I disagree with their idea. I think they are actually wrong because because syntax coloring actually help you identify the locations of your code, any specific location more efficiently. And I think it can be proven scientifically too. You know, just by you can do statistics. You can test people's comprehension. Of syntax coloring versus no syntax coloring. For example, this is my uh, Emacs init file. Okay, so you got a bunch of Lisp code. Now, if I turn everything to if I turn off syntax coloring, let's say font lock mod, okay, then you don't have color anymore. It's not as readable because color lets you spot different parts, because different part of the code on a long page, they have different colors, so you can easily identify which section are where. You know So it doesn't matter how it is syntax colored, as long as you have just a little bit syntax coloring, it helps a lot. And I think that's a scientific truth. So for those people who think syntax coloring is for children, I doubt they are. I kind of question their judgment. So Rob Pike says syntax highlighting is juvenile. When I was a child, I was taught arithmetic using colored rods. I grew up and today I use monochromatic numerals. Now, is it true that he still do not use syntax coloring? I would be curious to know. Uh, yeah, because people might change. Um, the other thing. Okay, let me make a guess. Okay, the other thing about this kind of issue is that it has a lot to do with habit. Okay, a lot has to do with habit. Like if I start to code without syntax coloring for a few weeks, then I will get used to it. Then I will be fine without syntax coloring. Seriously, I mean, if you try it, I'm pretty sure you'll get the same conclusion. Try for 1 week without any syntax coloring. For the first few days, it'll be painful. But after 2 weeks, let's say 2 weeks, you will get to used to it. Okay, then you will have no problem. Then if you turn on syntax coloring again, you will find it jarring. It's habit. This is kind of like that's what habit is doing to us. So I think what happens with Rob Pike and some other people is that they just get to use it. I mean, they just get used to it, and they never try to change. Back in those days when Rob Pike is one of the old guys. Gray beard. I'm not sure he's got gray beard, but anyway, he's that class of programmers. But anyway, so he grew up without syntax coloring because syntax coloring was not introduced around say 1995 or some maybe a bit before. There was no syntax coloring before. In fact, Emacs do not support syntax coloring in for a while in even up to 1999, I think. But X does. So if you can see, sorry, Emacs versus X. So I have a documentation I wrote that documents my experience of Emacs versus X. You know, back then X is better than Emacs in every way. So I documented some of the issues I remember. So this is written in 2007. But anyway, yeah, thanks for that Rob Pike thread. Okay, so Norman says color in Emacs font lock mod was added by JWZ in Lucid X Emacs, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's probably true. So you are an old bee. Yeah, JWZ is one of the colorful character in programming community. I have exchanged email with him a few times since year 2000 or something. So, but a few year ago, I stopped. He turned me off because has to do with politics. Um, anyway, he's one of those guys who talk a lot. Like among programmers, some programmers you have a handful, a small percentage of programmers who talk a river. Me, for example, JWZ is one example. ESR is another example. Eric S. Raymond, and who wrote the Bazaar and Cathedral and Bazaar and other things. Uh, yeah, so there are a few programmers who talks a lot all the time. So JWZ is one of them, and also Linus. Yeah, Linus Torvald is one of the guy who talks, and also typically dramatically non-stop. So anyway, I admire JWZ, for like 20 years until in 2016. I think it's 2016. He 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 banned me on Twitter for political reasons. I don't think it's reasonable because he want people to vote for Hillary Clinton. Okay, that's fine with me. But anyway, but I criticized. I mean, anyway, I didn't even criticize him anything about politics. But one day I posted something about Pearl, but because our previous issues about politics, he banned me. So that kind of turned me off very very much about him. Um, so anyway, I think that's it for today. Anything else? He so he was always on the left. Yeah, okay, you are probably right, but I don't know anything about it. I'm not into I'm not really into. Actually, I'm on the left. All like throughout 1990s and 2000s, and even I mean up to 2016, up to the Trump situation. Okay, I was always. I mean, my all my adult life. I live in California, which is in the heart of Silicon Valley. So everything I read, I'm on the left, of course. I do not like the conservatives. I do not believe in God. In fact, back then, when the conservatives are in the power, they want to censor porn. Okay, they want to, you have to dress, in a suit. Like they are family men. Okay, they are moral people. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. We must, like, they are conservatives. A family or whatever. Especially like believing in God. Okay, I don't believe in God. But they want to control you, like Jesus. Like you have to believe in God, or you know for example, on the US dollar bill, you have "In God We Trust," and things like that. So I didn't, I'm always certainly a liberal. uh, I'm actually more of like a libertarian, as far as ideology goes. But anyway, but since 2016, the social justice scan rose. That flipped me my political views completely. Uh, it's like, I believe pretty much the same. But today's Democrat, it's not the liberal. It's the meaning of liberal changed. They become something else. They become this social justice scam, extremely evil. These scumbags, 10 times more worse than the conservatives. Okay, this today's social justice scam. These people, and that is why when I have this, situation with JWZ, that pissed me off. And he was, back, like, he wrote an article back in 2016. He wrote an article, kind of like a hint. He wrote, you can go to his website, you'll find the article. Basically, the article is about the origin of the Mozilla logo. That dinosaur. Um, the Mozilla has this logo. They actually changed it. Yeah, this, you see, this dinosaur. Okay, they actually changed it today. I mean. So, but anyway, so it's like that. But back then it's not. It's actually it's not like that. It's a bit different. But anyway, he discussed. JWZ discussed the origin of this, something similar to that. Yeah, and even, I can find the original logo, but it'll take a while. So let's see. Uh, but anyway, so JWZ wrote an article um, about the origin of the Mozilla logo and the name. Okay, essentially, basically, he comes down to, he says that because he want to push communism. I mean, the idea is borrowed from communism. The logo, the theme, red color, and um, you know, because back then the open source just began. This is around 1999. The open source just began, and Mozilla is the first company that, because Netscape failed. Netscape lost to the browser war to Microsoft, and so Netscape is no longer commercially valuable. Then they put it to open source. When you don't have anything, you put it to open source. So that's basically the first major open source project. Uh, Besides Linux, Mozilla was commercial software that became open source. Okay, the first. Anyway, so happy Easter base. So today is Easter. Easter is the American holiday. I don't even know. I heard about Easter, so that's today. Yeah, I didn't know. So I'm supposed to hunt eggs somewhere. So anyway, what else? I think we've talked long enough. An hour 14. Anything else? So Norman, I think JW was okay. Yeah, so JWZ, but I don't know what's his political views. So anyway, yeah. So he wrote the article. Basically he is hinting. He wants people. He is telling people that, oh, we must vote Hillary because this is so critical. He's trying to express that. Um, but I think I made a comment. I made a comment saying that both of them are bad. Okay, both of them are bad. Something like that. I made a kind of a turn in check comment in the same kind of style like he's doing. Like he's telling people, okay, please go vote for Hillary, but he does not say it. He's the type of a guy, who is kind of, playing around with words. He doesn't often, he doesn't say exactly what he means. He want to, play around with words. Maybe many of you think, I think I get the impression that many people think I'm the same way. Because, well, anyway, so he's kind of like that. So I responded, I think on Twitter. I responded in same kind of fashion. Basically I'm saying, both of them are bad. Whatever you think, oh, we must vote for Hillary, is actually, that's just your opinion. It's not, valid. So I made some comment like that, and he and by the way, it's not insulting him or anything. I just made the kind of a turn in check comment, because he posted a comment. I have a, then I have opinions. I post mine, kind of, let's see who can write, poetry better, so what did he do? He replied, okay. Anyway, we can actually find it. Let's see. Xali JWZ Twitter. Okay, I think we can find the. I hope we can find it. Then he blocked me. Not for that. Okay, he didn't block me. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I made a comment and he replied. Okay, then then that then nothing happens. Okay, but next day he was posting something about Pearl. Okay, then I retweeted his post with my own opinion. And my opinion is like, oh my god, people are still using Pearl. You should dinosaurs. Something like that, something to that effect. Then he banned me. Oh yeah, he was asking a question about Pearl. I think he's the one of the old guy who doesn't learn. Who don't learn. He's just sticking to technologies from 1990s. Last time I heard that he's still using XEMAX. you know, like I think he wrote an article about how he see no reason to change, for the past 10 years, whatever Emacs improvement, he see no reason to change. He's still using X Emacs compiled from 2000, year 2000, something like that. So anyway, so next day he made a comment. He asked a question about Pearl. I retweeted. Note, I retweeted, not reply to his thread. Okay, I retweeted his post about Pearl with my own comment on top. Then he blocked me. That I consider that turned off. That turned me off. That I consider that's not a good person's behavior. Because okay, you have your political opinions. I have mine. Okay, you made a post about it. I replied. It's a public forum. And I didn't insult you. I post my opinion. Okay, we disagree. That's fine. Then you post your opinion. You post something about Pearl. I retweeted and I posted my opinion about Pearl. And also, I did not insult. It's not like I'm insulting him. Nothing like that. but it's not like ass kissing way. I'm not kissing his ass. I'm just making my own opinions about, because I despise Pearl. Okay, I hate Pearl, so I make my opinions rather negative, but not in any way insulting to him or anyone. I make my opinions about Pearl, a rant, a little one sentence rant, or something like people still using Pearl. Then he blocked me. So that, to me, that's it's like no good. It's not a serious thing, okay? We had some disagreement. There's some rub, some friction about political opinions. Then he says something, then I say something, then he blocked me. It's no big deal. So I was not like, oh, this guy is a bad guy. Nothing like that. It's just I'm just mentioning it, as a a story. So, but because he did that, so I didn't, I don't think that's a good thing. One should do. Um, so he's a bit negative, and I stopped. Uh, he blocked me, so I stopped. Because before, like almost every few years, I have articles discussing issues programming, and that often mentions him, and links to his website. So you see the thing about that is, even I mean, before all this, we had several exchanges over the past 20 years, like 15 years. We have you know some nothing bad exchanges. For example, this one in 2016, earlier, we were talking about keyboard and mouse. But anyway, Twitter makes it hard to find. But if you, I'm pretty sure you can find the tweet in question where we kind of quarreled. Dion, oh my God, Dion, you are so late. I'm gonna close down. So because I've been talking for like now 90 minutes. So why do I use OS X? Well, only because a professor gave me a Mac Mini 2 years ago. That is why. Because I don't have money to buy Mac, or computers. So, but anyway, so I got it free. So that is the main reason I'm on the Mac. Well, I talked about my history of using Mac or Windows and Linux in a month or two ago, like for a long time. But anyway, um, yeah. So, and Mac is good. It just, you don't have to worry about things, because otherwise on Linux, it's like every 2 days. I mean, literally, statistically, every week you spend about 3 hours diddling, just diddling Linux stuff, like why something doesn't work, or tweaking the user interface, window management, window managers, and X11 and all these. You spend you spend few hours every day, on those kind of things, for some reason, and something doesn't work. Why doesn't this install? Oh, I cannot get my audio to play when I'm streaming or something. It's like that. Linux, it's a extreme pain in the ass. you know that's the situation. I really hope not to be the case, but just the Linux people, as I said before, the problem is with the code, the ideology that's hurting it, the open source ideology and the code mentality. Because Linux really should be, should have already wiped out Microsoft, at least. It's a free system, and, could have. But then you have the open source ideology, and basically then the Linux people, of course, everyone is open source, but actually everyone fights internally, fights for power. You have your distribution, my distribution, I create a new window, manager, and things like that. Power struggle. That's what happens to communism. That's what happens to communism because on the surface, you know, everyone abides to the ideology. We all peaceful. We share everything. There's no private properties. Okay, but in reality, you have lots of problems. Then you have power struggle, but you cannot do it in a way that's explicit. It becomes internal. It becomes roundabout in other ways. You fight for power and for stuff, and nobody wants to do anything because you don't get nothing. You don't get benefits. Everything is supposed to be shared. And actually, there's a people there's a lot of open source communities, and there are people who study communes, this kind of ideology. Like, for example, communism is the government national scale, okay, world scale. Then you have free software, which is kind of among programming community. It's kind of a thing, or open source. That's another faction. But there are also lots of other kind of hippie or this of ideology of communities. Like, there's no private property, there's no ranking. Like in your company, you have ranks. You have the CEO. You have your boss. So, but anyway, a lot of people, these believers, imagine there's no country, that idiotic believers. They have these communes. They start to build, in some small town, and there are people who studied these communes. You go there and study them. They all failures. In fact, there's all ugly, very ugly things going inside, and horrible things. So anyway, actually, let me show you the article. Let's see if I can find the article. That's a great article because this guy actually spent a lot of time to visit, all the words, this basically the idea of communism, the different groups of communes. Typically, they have one guru, which is their leader. For example, in Free Software Foundation, we have Richard Stallman. He's sitting there every day. Oh, we'll be like, we'll share, Emacs, Church of Emacs, whatever, sing his songs, and he get money. Of course, because he's ahead. He doesn't have to worry about food, even though it's not like wealthy. It's not a millionaire's living, but he get to live free. He got donations, but not everyone else. Join my commune. That would be great. uh let's see, how do you I okay, the easiest way is actually go to my Emacs blog, and then search the directory for COMMUN. Okay, search it. Okay, that's too many. Let's search again. COMMUNE. uh, let's search for ideology. Okay, let's search for site. Okay, here's the article. Why utopian communities fail. Okay, I'll leave it at that. You guys, if you like, you can read that page. Uh, and that's it for today. Let's wait for this page to run. Yeah, why utopian communities fail. It's a big article that he surveyed, all the communes and write down their problems. Okay, so thank you guys for coming by. I'll see you next time.